everybody. This is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, Lori, how are you today?
Hi, Omar. I'm doing great. I had a week in Florida for business, and it was beautiful there. I mean, seriously, I got some sunset shots and beach shots and,
nice.
All sorts of wonderful things happening out there.
Yeah, that's so nice. Which part of Florida?
In West Palm Beach.
Oh, that's
very
nice over there.
So it was really, really pretty. And they have the most incredible shopping there.
Really?
Yeah, it's just really beautiful. Lots of nice restaurants and strolling. And they're so dog friendly there too that they have like bowls of dog biscuits for those who have their dogs with them.
Really? That's nice.
I know. In a place for their dogs, to go what
cool.
they need to do. Yeah.
So you were in heaven. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Had a good time. Yeah.
Well, I guess this episode is right in line with what you were doing because you were on business traveling, and I'm sure you had to keep on point with your diet and exercise.
I did. I was proud.
Good. So that means that you learned something from today's guest, Martin Sharp, because his story is great. And I think is very, very appropriate, not only because you just came from a business trip and had to get it in and do what you had to do. But I find it very difficult myself whenever I travel and just having a busy lifestyle to sneak it in. And
it is when you're working 8 hours a day and then, you have to also cram in the taking care of yourself part, it can be challenging for a lot of people. Yeah,
and Martin is someone who is a great example of who got over that. He lost a tremendous amount of weight and he just is able to keep it off. And now he's just continuously teaching others how to do the same, how to live a busy executive corporate type lifestyle and just stay in the best shape of his life. So it was really a good show.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Loved having him on.
Yeah, so let's jump into it.
Sounds good.
Hey, Martin, how are you today? Welcome to the show.
I'm very well, thank you. Are you
Hi,
good?
Martin. Thank you. So nice to have you today.
Hello, thank you very much. Great to be here.
You're here from the UK. We're just as hot as you are.
We've gone down to a much cooler temperature today, thankfully.
Yeah, I know. It's been, we yesterday had a cooler temperature of 97.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah, so Martin, Lori's in Texas, so forget it.
I know.
Yeah.
So, well, welcome. And could you just, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to do what you do?
Yeah, certainly. So, probably best start in 2014, December 2014. I took my mum and my family over to Florida for a fabulous family holiday, and when we were there, we were doing all the things you'd expect to do when you're in Florida. Went to the theme parks, went to Clearwater Bay, went to the Kennedy Space Center, all sorts of amazing things. And while I was there, we went to the Universal Studios, and while we were queuing to go on the Incredible Hulk ride with my two children, really excited either side of me to be involved and get on there. I've got one kind of 4-year-old going, is this going to be scary? And my kind of 8-year-old going, yes, it's going to be good fun. It's going to go really quick into it, and just jumping for joy all the time. And we got to the front of the queue. The attendant, the guy who was kind of running the one, was wearing his kind of green uniform and things. And he said, I'm sorry, sir, you can't get on this car. I said, oh, okay. And he said, but don't worry, I've got one especially for you. And I was thinking, this is a bit weird. So we kind of stood at the side feeling a bit awkward with my children and things. And anyway, this special car arrives and he says, okay, this what can get you in. And as he puts me in this bigger seat, he can't get the restraining belt to kind of fit over my shoulders or anything. And he's really apologetic. He goes, I'm really sorry, but you just can't go on this ride. You're just too fat.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, right. And I'm there with my children. And thankfully, a friend of mine, Andy, came with us. So he says, I'll take your children on the ride. Don't worry. And so I was kind of watching from sidelines to see how things are going, and that was kind of then. And then, unfortunately, it wasn't the last time that happened. So we went on a few other rides, and similar kind of messages came back. The fact that I was just too big to go on them. And then, as we were going into the Magical Kingdom, went on the monorail, and my mum took a beautiful photo of like me and my wife. And when we're looking at the photo, I kind of realised actually I had bigger moobs than my wife's boobs. I was thinking something has to change. Because this was not who I was. I'd kind of let the stress and strain of kind of running my own business and dealing with kind of transformational work for other organizations around the world kind of take over who I was and my lifestyle, to some quite detrimental effects. So I kind of came home. I said to Sarah, my lovely wife, I'm going to change. I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to do all these things. So I went and got a gym membership. I downloaded the diet plan off the internet. I was using MyFitnessPal to track all my weights and what I was doing. I even got a PT. It was a lovely lady called Kez. She was like a dynamo. She would like put me through an hour's worth of grueling kind of. I felt like I was going to die by the end of it, to be frank. But I tried to do all that kind of thing, just wasn't seeing any results. So I tried all sorts of other things as well. I did different types of diets. I did like the South Beach diet. I did the Atkins diet. I joined Weight Watchers at one point. What else? I even did things like took up karate with my young daughter. My daughter thought it was hilarious. She managed to beat her dad up, but that's fine. That's good. A bit of family bonding.
Right.
And when I wasn't at home, if I was in London or something, I'd just join a friend's kickboxing gym. So yeah, I tried all sorts of stuff. I mean, even things like supplements. I went for all sorts of different things, lotions and potions and stuff, and even things like fat burning coffee. I mean, who actually believes things like fat burning coffee works? It's somebody who's desperate for an answer, because I'd spent all the time trying to find things that work. So I kind of realised that the issue was actually that it was with me, because my role and what I was doing around the world, a lot of the times I wouldn't be in the same city, county, or country at the same time, let alone being able to get to the gym or whatever. So I was always
eat right. I mean, it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone kind of has this notion in the healthcare industry. It's you've got to be at the same place at the same time, doing the same thing with the same people. You've got to measure your food. You've got to, and the reality is, if you're a busy business person or consultant or entrepreneur or something, or even a lot of busy professionals, to be frank, engineers and doctors and stuff, you don't have a lifestyle that necessarily allows you to do all those things in the way that they prescribe you to do them. And I know it's an excuse, and excuses are great, but that's where I kind of got to. And after 5 years,
well, I just to interrupt for a second, it does have to be practical in people's lives. You know what I mean? As you've found out. So, I mean, if it's not going to be practical and simple and easy, then people won't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly where I got to. Because after 5 years, I'd lost only 10 kilos, which is 22 pounds. Which is it's nothing for 10 years for 5 years.
That's that's a lot of work.
And I was kind of I was a bit crestfallen. I didn't really like it, but my wife, I mean, she's lovely. She supports me in everything that I do, thankfully, and she's just said, you've still got a loving family, and you're well respected, and you've got a good business and things. You've got friends around you. So maybe it's just time to, accept this might be who you are, and, just live your life, enjoy what you can. But at the back of my mind, I kind of always had that feeling that, well, I'm going to be frank, I don't come from the best breeding stock, let's put it that way. If I was a cow or a horse, I'd be shot by now, made into glue or something. And just simply because, my dad's got all sorts of things going wrong with him. He's got fibromyalgia, he's got diabetes and cancer and all sorts of other things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My younger brother's the same, actually. He's going exactly the same way. So, I kind of realized that
the genetic pool is it's not the healthiest, is what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. The weights were definitely against me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just thought, well, I'm just going to live my life as much as I can now, and we'll deal with that later. So I was in a event down in the Felbridge Hotel in Felbridge near Gatwick, and just doing some things there. And I was chatting with a friend of mine over breakfast, a chap called James, when another guy came up who was actually one of the members, one of the guys who was coming and attending that event. And he just asked if he could sit at breakfast with us. I said, sure, yeah, no worries. And found out his name was Pete, and he was a good businessman. He'd been in business for many years. And in fact, he looked the part. So, when you see somebody, you think actually they're dressed really well. And actually, he was very well chiseled as well. You could tell he was working out and things. And, the conversation turned round to actually, well, how do you keep yourself fit? How do you actually manage it, running a successful business and things? And he said, well, I used to be a chunky chap as well. And when someone who's at the gym and they say to you, I'm a bit fat this today, and they've put like half a pound on or something, and their lives are going to completely collapse.
Right.
Yeah. And we're kind of expecting this, but he says, no, really, really, honestly. And he pulls his phone out and he's showing us a few photographs of what he was like a couple of years previously. And he was quite portly, as a gentleman goes. And then he showed us some of the photos that he'd had done at a photo shoot recently, and he was incredibly well chiseled. And I said, well, what's your secret? What did you do differently? And he just said, well, I started work with an online physique consultant. And then that way I could just work out wherever I was. I didn't have to be tied to being in one place. And I thought, that's brilliant. So I said, so would you mind introducing me to him? He says, yeah, of course, no worries. And he says, it just so happens I brought him with me to this event, and he was with him at the event in Felbridge. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, talk about a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
So I started chatting to the guy. He was very nonchalant about it, and he said basically, if you want to get this done, you've got to chase me. I'm not going to chase you. But we did. We kind of got together, managed to get some plans created, and started going through that process. And what I was finding though is a lot of the stuff I'd done with business transformational stuff, like building some really good plans, creating that methodology around it, so you create less excuses, and really putting in a lot of the monitoring of things on top of what would be standard good practice from a PT's point of view, really kind of helped mean that when I was away during that first year, that first year was grueling. I'd be at home maybe six days out of a month, and the rest of the time I'd be over in the US, or I'd be in Dubai or somewhere in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But I still made it work. So the first 3 months, I lost 10 kilograms, which is 22 pounds. And then the following month, I lost another 7 kilograms, which is not quite 22.
Is a kilogram around 3 pounds?
2.2.
2.2. Okay.
Yeah. So a quick calculator now is 15.4 pounds. So again, by this point, I'm doing quite well. And actually, it was daft because 6 months in at this point, my suit no longer fitted me. It looked like I was wearing my dad's suit as if I was like 5 years old or something.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I loved it. Give me a good excuse to go buy new clothes.
Right.
And by the time I finished that first year, even with all the traveling and stuff, I managed to drop by 40 kilograms, which is about 88 pounds in total. And that was still working effectively full-time consultant. And
wow.
I was thinking that was fantastic.
That is fantastic, Martin.
Yeah, no, your personal transformation is really great. You definitely recommend people to check out your website because you can see the photos, because it's really, really profound. So all this happened just because you had the online trainer? That was like your first step that you took?
That was the big transformation. I spent 5 years trying to find an answer, and just everything I tried from the mainstream just didn't work. Certainly, it didn't work with the lifestyle that I had. So really, the big key to unlocking it was finding the online trainer, where effectively I could work with somebody, a coach, and not be tied to a specific place or a specific time frame, etc. And then just really good practice with regards to, if that you need to do a certain amount of exercise or eat a certain amount of food, etc., and you know what the timing roughly needs to be, then you've got some flexibility in there. So if you have the day from hell, and everyone has a day from hell, let's face it, you can switch things around. It no longer becomes a case of you had to have done it there and you've missed the opportunity. You then start to look at how can you become a little bit more flexible in your approach and fit things in and fit things around it.
That's fantastic. And so you have actually worked through the problem, and you've identified 6 pillars that you describe them as fundamental, that need to be applied to change our health and our weight, and really to keep them in our life forever. And so you talk about mindset, meals, movement, moderation, method, and monitoring. Could you go through mindset? You list that as first. I don't know if these are essentially in order of importance, or if they're just listed.
They're not kind of in order of importance, but they're kind of in order of how you'd probably approach them. So the mindset is kind of the first thing and the key thing. And it's all around, it's like anything. If you fundamentally know what you're trying to do or what you're trying to achieve, that's kind of half the battle, creating that goals and then creating a framework around about how you can achieve those goals, short-term goals, mid-term goals, long-term goals. And that's kind of the principle of any kind of transformation, personal or in business. But then the big thing that kind of shifts it's that how do you turn that moment of inspiration and motivation into something that becomes dedication, so that you keep and you stick at that, and you turn those into being habits, and great habits that kind of support you. And that's, for me, unlocking that was really about finding out what my true values were, and then being able to learn my change and my transformation to my highest values. Because, and I'm not talking about values or principles as in the things that, you go to a personal development workshop and they get you all rah-rah charged up, and you go, yeah, I'm going to have this great value. I'm going to wake up every morning and I'm going to say my
4 o'clock a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm a part of the 4 a.m. club. Yeah, no. It's about, what's the real reason why you get out of bed every day? What's the real reason why you do what you do? Because
the why.
Yeah, the real why. So for me, it just came down to 3 fundamentals. One is, my family is really dear to me, and I will pretty much do anything I can to give them a good living and a good way of being able to use me as a springboard to do even better than what I have ever done. And my friends, are really important to me. I really enjoy spending time with them and helping them, and it's just part of life, because it's all reciprocal, isn't it? They help you through the good times and the bad, and celebrate and the crying and all that kind of stuff. And I like to be able to pass on the same thing as well. And then I love working with my clients. I love doing what I do. I love seeing those results and helping people from being where they are to where they want to be. I think it's just a fundamentally great thing to be able to serve others. And once I kind of realized those 3 things, and then realized that actually if I didn't change, then I wouldn't be able to do any of those. And even worse, certainly for my family, looking at the barrel of the gun with regards to the genetics we talked about earlier, if I didn't change, not only would I not be able to help them in things, I would actually become a hindrance to them in many ways if they had started after me.
And that's such an important way to look at it, And, I have to say, you're such an inspiration to your family too. I hope, we really lead by example in many ways, and that sounds like what you're doing. Yeah,
absolutely. And then I think that this is the same in everybody's family. I've got a wonderful client I worked with, a chap called Phil. He had a big Haribo habit, so the jelly sweets. And we got his kids basically to police his Haribo, which was kind of a good way of being able to get everybody.
Gummy bears,
That's
right?
the ones.
Yeah,
Gummy bears, yeah. And we just got his kids to police it. They thought it was great because they could tell tales on Dad doing all these things. But the more practical things about it, the one thing he really wanted to do is actually just have time to play with his kids and enjoy the time with his kids. And just working on things like that mindset, the meals and the motivate and the motivation, movement, to get him through those kind of 3 key aspects of it. We suddenly got to the point where actually it was changing how things happened in his household as well. So straight away he was in a position where he was starting to look at the portion control of what they were eating. He was looking actually at how many takeaways they had, because he had such a stressful job and a stressful life. He used to just do takeaways and things just to make life easier. But then suddenly realized it was a double-edged sword, because that was actually what was causing most of the stress, because all of a sudden he became lethargic, he had brain fog, all those kind of things. Whereas we changed things around, and actually, even though it was taking more time out of his day to do things like the exercise, he became a lot more clearer and actually was more efficient with his time as well. So that day he kind of sends me the text message to say, I've just done the monkey bars with my boy. And it was just fabulous. And then he's always sending me messages saying, oh, I've just been up hill walking with my wife, or I've just been taking the kids out cycling, and just doing all those amazing things with his family is just a pleasure.
So, Martin, what did you have to overcome yourself as far as just in your diet specifically? Were you overindulging in anything specific that you had to curb so that you could get the results that you got?
I was probably overindulging in everything, to be frank. I'm not kidding. I mean, being with the kind of work I do in the business transformational space, there is a lot of working with people and trying to build rapport, build consensus, trying to get people onto the same page, and therefore you end up trying to find ways of building connections really quickly. And a lot of times that does come down to either eating or drinking, because it's usually the big commonality and the easily accessible that everyone has. So I've had some amazing meals in probably every single location you can ever imagine. It's always big, it's always lavish, and it's always been large amounts of drinking along with it as well. So it was almost, for me, one of the big fundamentals was changing that relationship to say, actually, I don't need to be part of that. I can work at different ways of building rapport, or if I am part of that, I don't have to actually always partake. So nowadays, I don't tend to have things like the beer or anything when I'm away, or glasses of wine or anything. What I'll do is I'll have a soda water and lime. It sounds really boring, but actually it's quite refreshing, and it keeps me with a nice clear head for the morning after.
Yeah. It's so much healthier too. I mean, the excess is creating inflammation in the body, and that's connected to your weight gain and overall poor health. So that was really, and that's part of the mindset we just talked about too, is once you make that decision, it's that decision that is empowering. And so it was a great decision you made. So what were your meals like? I mean, when you started to change, you were working out with this person, what happened with what you chose to eat?
So it was good, because the first thing we did was look at how do we spread the meals throughout the day. So we went from being, the first fundamental is to say anything that you put in your mouth is a meal as far as your body's concerned. It kind of breaks it down into the relevant components that it needs, and then shuttles it around to where it needs it. So regardless of whether you're what you see as being a snack in your mouth, or whether it's going to be a chocolate bar, or whether it's actually going to be a healthy meal of some kind, your body's just going to break it down. And I think when you start to understand that and start to see everything you pop in your mouth as being a meal, then you can start your relationship with food kind of changes. Mine certainly did. And that was kind of the first kind of probably big change. But from a mechanical point of view, it is just laying out how many calories do you need, how many of that's going to be in protein, how many of that's going to be in carbohydrates, how many of that's going to be in fats, where are you going to get your fat sources from, are you going to make sure you've got enough of the essential fatty acids in there, or you're going to make sure you've got your essential amino acids in there and things. So it's really then taking that understanding of food and really elevating it. So the first kind of elements of that for me was very parrot fashion, just going through what he had given me and just following the instructions effectively. But that soon, I've got a very inquisitive nature, so it soon very turned to asking those questions of, well, why do we do that? Why is that important? Where's the scientific study behind that? Why is that actually happening in my body? And that really started that change and that refocusing of myself away from necessarily doing lots of things around the business side and really actually concentrating more around the healthcare and the coaching side, to actually understanding, fundamentally, if I know how this works, then I can make those better choices when I'm going out there and I'm working with other people. So yeah, that's kind of what the start of the meals look like. What were the contents of the meals? One of the key things was to try and have as much from real food as opposed to any kind of supplements and things like that. So it really is trying to then think about, how can we do the best from there? So I will quite happily have things like, omelets and stuff, or lots of kind of chicken and veg, or some like hams and veg, or beef and veg. Lots of veg, lots of green veg, definitely lots of that. And then occasionally, depending on what we're doing or what the goal is at that point in time, I might put things like rice in there or potatoes or things. And really, it all depends on what I'm doing on each day. So if I'm doing things like doing a lot of resistance training or something, then what I will do is probably try and make sure I have got more carbohydrates in my diet that day, to make sure I've got enough energy and enough fuel to actually make that a worthwhile session. Whereas when I'm on a rest day, what I'll try and do is probably have less carbohydrates and probably try and put more in towards things like fats. Try to do a lot of things like oily fish and things. Try to make sure I've got a lot of essential fatty acids.
Would you say that overall you reduced your carb load intake, or did you just, eat more of a anti-inflammatory diet, such as Mediterranean diet?
No, we've definitely reduced the amount of carbs, but it's not a case of being anti-carbs. I think that's the other kind of thing.
It's interesting. We have to definitely qualify that now. Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, because carbs can be good. I mean, they are kind of a friend at the end of the day. They're there to give you energy. Your brain needs them and stuff. So it's not a case of not having them, but it's like you say, it's not overindulging in them.
Right. That's a key. And the ultimate goal is to create insulin sensitivity, which is what it sounds like you did. So congratulations.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And I know from blood tests and things I've been doing, my doctor was always on at me with obviously my history. So he was always on at me about saying, "No, you haven't quite got the markers yet, but your numbers are going up." And then, okay. Whereas today, I've been for blood tests and everything's clear, effective.
That's fantastic.
Diabetes markers, so that's always a nice one for me in that respect.
That's fantastic. Good for you.
Trainer played such a big role in your life. Can you go at least walk us through what the kind of protocol that he did have you on? You definitely mentioned resistance training, and again, you were on the road for so long and really living that busy lifestyle. How did you manage to incorporate that in? And I'm really fascinated how he was able to set these programs up for you, knowing that you were so mobile.
Yeah. So and that
global.
Global, definitely. Yeah. But crumbs. There was one month I think I pretty much I did a what was it? I did a rooftop gym in Prague in the hotel there. Then I flew out over to Bucharest, and in Bucharest it was a basement gym in Bucharest, but it was a real makeshift gym. So it had like a scaffolding bar bolted to the ceiling, and that was pretty much about it.
I have actually been in those gyms, while I've traveled too. Yeah. Some of them are horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and then others are really lovely. I went to when I was in Dubai. I went to it was like an amazing luxury gym there, really, really, really well equipped. So yeah, sometimes you land lucky and you just get a good gym and you can just do your workout you would do normally. Sometimes you turn up places and they don't even have a gym. So what I started doing is making sure I did a couple of things, either reschedule things round to make sure I could still fit in, so like 3, 4, 5 resistance training sessions a week. Or what I would do is I would do an alternative way of being able to get the training in. So I would use body weight, or I would use bands or something that I could take with me, because bands are great if you can. They're really lightweight, they're compact. You can throw them in your hand luggage. They can go through the airport scanner without you getting arrested.
That's great, Martin. Yeah, would you say that that your motivation was stronger as you kept seeing the success you had? It sounds like a stupid question, but because a lot of people don't realize that once you start to feel stronger muscles, that you see a little bit of weight loss, did that motivate you to move even go even further?
Yeah, I think that definitely keeps you going. And yeah, I think having those goals so you can keep ticking the goals off. It's a bit like having a checklist, really. And as soon as you check something off, you get that mini buzz to say, I've done it. And having those kind of short-term goals and mid-term goals where you can keep doing that same kind of thing. I think that gives those nice psychological boosts all the way along the journey. Which might be, for example, looking at a weight loss target or a fat loss target. Sorry, it might be, for example, looking at what size you're going to have a dress size. Not that I wear dresses, to be honest with you, but it might be that is something that you can use to motivate yourself moving forwards. Yeah. But for me, I found actually I started to enjoy the process as much as anything else. So I think maybe about 6 months in, because I'd kind of learned so much, and it was no longer a case of just following something parrot fashion. It was a case of being a bit more interested in what was going on, asking those questions, learning a bit more, then having to adapt because you're never quite sure exactly what was going on. It became almost like a series of puzzles as well to solve. You knew you had to do these kind of movements. You had to target this kind of muscle. You had to make those kind of connections and feeling a certain way. Then straight away, if you can work out how to move your body to be able to get that same stimulus, then it doesn't matter where you are. You can find somewhere of being able to do it, whether you're in the park, whether you're in the hotel room, whether you're in a gym. It doesn't make a difference.
So Martin, again, this is really fantastic as far as what you were able to do, just like traveling. Because like I said, I know when I travel, I barely can do anything, let alone keeping the consistency you had. So can you just talk about like stress specifically? Because I think it's often overlooked, and I think you'd agree too that the factor of stress does terrible things to your body, especially when you're a busy business person like yourself. Can you just dive into that a bit?
Yeah, certainly. It kind of links nicely into that moderation piece as well, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the stuff I've learned about stress over the last few years, I'll be very surprised if it doesn't come up as a number one killer at some point. Just you can, for example, you can have the absolute perfect week when it comes down to your diet and your exercise. So you're moving the right way, your meals are absolutely spot on. But if you're not getting enough sleep, and you're not taking those time to relax and unwind and allow your body to engage its parasympathetic nervous system and really rest and digest and everything, you may never ever see the results that you're looking for, because your body's constantly in a position of breaking down. It's constantly looking at effectively where's the next saber-tooth tiger coming from, because realistically we're still the same animals we were maybe 1,000, 10,000 years ago. We haven't really evolved too far from that position, and we've still got those same kind of drives, and they're all kind of triggered by things like stress. But yet today, in our lifestyles, we don't have saber-toothed tigers around every corner. In fact, in a lot of the world, we don't even have things like famines or droughts or anything that would cause us to have to worry or for our bodies to actually deal with. It's actually an easy source of food for a lot of people by just going down to the supermarkets and things. But our body doesn't know that. And in fact, when we put ourselves under stress, especially it's like mental stress, where we're not physically moving to even be able to cope with it or have a mechanism by our body can actually start to get rid of or diminish it or utilize it, it just means that all those kind of hormonal responses and chemical responses all kind of start building up inside us. And that just creates this real negative pool.
Inflammation, which leads to weight gain. Yeah. In fact, yeah. So I have a question. If somebody is just desperate right now, you talked earlier about just desperate for the fat burning coffee or anything, that just this desire and really helplessness to fix the fat, if you will, what would you say would be a good first step for them to embark on?
What would be a good first step? I think the fact that they've acknowledged that is kind of probably the first step, because it takes a lot to do that. And I think making a understanding the values and the commitment to themselves, I think, would probably be the next big step. Because, like we said before, that kind of mental mindset shift to make that kind of happen,
it's important.
It's really important. Because then you're open to options and ideas, and it's no longer, you're not closed. You're not trying to find the get fit quick scheme or the next instant pill that's going to make it all better. You then preparing yourself mentally for the what would be coming up ahead, and you get the change through the application of consistent action and perseverance through them.
Yeah, no, I think that's important to just lay that out too. And I guess I'll end the conversation with a little bit of a jump from that point, because I think a lot of people have unrealistic expectations about how quickly they do get results. So can you just speak on that part for like a second? Because I think, like I mentioned, we think that we're going to lose these pounds overnight, and sometimes it's been a lifetime of gaining those pounds. So
great point. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the general rule of thumb that is kind of noted by most medical professionals and healthcare in lots of different studies is to try and lose about 1 pound to 2 pounds. So that's about half a kilo to a kilo each week as a maximum, because that's sustainable, and it'll mean that you won't have massive drops in your energy levels. It'll mean that you're not starving your body in any way, shape, or form, so your body's still getting all the nutrients that it needs to repair itself. And the repair cycle is really important, because bodies are always in a position where you've got this whole thing about specific adaptation happening, and then it happens all the time. So, for example, runners look the way runners do, and swimmers look the way swimmers do, and rugby players look the way rugby players do, because their bodies have adapted to their sports and worked in that kind of way. And if you run in the same way all the time and just deal with running, then you might have fantastic muscles for running, but you'll have useless muscles for other things. And your body becomes really efficient because it says, you're a runner, you're just going to run, therefore I'm going to make you really efficient at running. So it only then it burns less and less calories the better of the runner you become for doing the same kind of distance. So then you have to pile even more on. So if you can change and adapt in a different way by able to do different muscular movements or different kind of sports, anything that kind of just you enjoy doing, that you can keep doing, then that way you can leverage that kind of ability for your body to evolve and that specific adaptations that keep happening by keeping it guessing in some respects.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So, we really loved having you here today. You've been just inspiring, really, for all of us. And, there's always, people are quick to criticize weight loss, but many people don't realize that there are healthy ways to do it, and you've done that. So I really appreciate you stopping by, Martin. And it's I know it's you have a coaching program, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So
please let us know where people can find you.
The best place is probably just send it on my website at www.martinsharp.com.
Fantastic. And anywhere else? I know you wrote a book, correct?
Yeah, I've wrote a couple of books in my life.
Yeah, actually. You're an author.
So I've got a recent one come out, which is more to do with healthcare, and that's quite an interesting book as well. Yeah, I've done.
Congratulations!
All subjects. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, definitely a pleasure having you on. Definitely inspiration for me as well. And I know that being a busy person is not an excuse, and you really show how you get it done no matter how busy you are. So we really appreciate that share.
Yes.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for staying up late for us.
No worries.
Okay.
All right. Have a great day, Martin.
You too.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up. So so that we could provide you with excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.